Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Hope you had a great holiday.
Yes.
That's nice. Okay, very good. Okay. Let me get to the Facebook here.
I know Brudia told me we have class today, so let me remind her.
Yeah, I told her, I sent her.
Yes.
Okay. I sent her.
Yes.
Okay. 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 Okay, so we'll continue. I think this is where we left off. I'm not sure 100%, but that's where my marker is. So it says like this, Mitzta'er umisha en dato yushevet patu. We said, right, that a person who is suffering in agony or he's not concentrated, he's absolved from tefillin. And the reason is because a person who puts tefillin is not allowed to distract his thoughts from the tefillin. So it says, according to this, it's possible to exempt every person who's sick. Actually, yeah, we did this already. I'm sorry. So I'm just gonna go skip the next one. 1 second. Right. So we were talking about the issue of women that they're absolved from tefillin. So we'll get into that. We'll talk about that. So it says Mishnah bepek Misha Meto. So it says the Mishnah over there in Brachot Kaf Amud Aleph. V'yahi Tama b'Gemara. So it brings the Gemara the reason for this. Why are women exempt from this? Mishum tehave mitzvat aseh shazman girama. Because it's a positive commandment, which is time bound. Right? So every positive commandment, which is time bound, nashim peturot, women are exempt from that. This is the reason why. So the Katava Rosh Beilchot Tefillin says the Rosh in Laws of Tefillin. Even though we hold Rabbi Akiva, like Rabbi Akiva, the Amar Laila Zman Tefillin Mikol says that what night is not timer for Tefillin. Mikol Makom Shabbat v'Yom Tov. I'm sorry. Night is the time of tefillin, but Shabbat and Yom Tov is not. So therefore, it is still time bound. This whole thing. Katava Kobo. Says Kobo. B'Shem Haram. Shem Ratzu Hanashim le'aniach tefillin. Oh, So here's the thing, right? What about if they want to put tefillin? Even though they're exempt, right? They want to do it as an optional mitzvah. So En Shom Imlan says we don't listen to them. Why is that? Because they don't know how to guard themselves in cleanliness to keep themselves from desecrating the tefillin. That's what it says there. He asked a question about this. He didn't like this, whatever. It says, since we say in this parak over here, the Michal Bat Kushi Hayta Menachat Tefillin V'lo Mechuba Chachamim. So Adarabah, right? On the contrary, it says over there in the Gemara that the Michal, the daughter of Shaul, was putting tefillin, and the rabbis did not object against her. So there you go. So then, how is he telling you that we should object against the women who are putting tefillin? So it seems to me that the reason for the Ram, like it says in Tosfot, it says in the Psikta, right? The truth is that there's also another version of the story, that the rabbis did object to her. So there's two different versions of this, right? One says they did not object, one says they did object. So they explain is because the reason is because tefillin requires a clean body. So the women are not careful about that. So he says the Ram wanted to be careful, wanted to be concerned about the words of the Psikta. So therefore he wrote that the women should not put it. So the story is like this, right? Pretty much that as we said, right, that Michal, Bat Shaul, the daughter of Shaul, was to put tefillin, and we also have the daughters of Rashi. They used to put tefillin. So the story is that the rabbis did object against them, but they didn't listen. You know what I mean? Whatever. So that's one way to put it. So what does that mean? That we don't really go and force them, to take it off. You know what I mean? That's not the thing. We object. In other words, we call them up and tell them. We send them an email. We tell them, please, don't put tefillin. But if they if they still don't refuse to listen to that, so then we just leave them alone. In other words, we let them do whatever they want to do. That's the way it seems to me that is the proper way to understand it. So what does that mean? Look, it could be that some women, right, obviously, know how to put tefillin and they know how to guard their bodies clean. So if that's the case, that they know how to do that, so it doesn't really apply to them, this issue, that they don't know how to guard their body. Some women, maybe they know how to guard. So therefore, we object against them. We tell them, don't do it, don't put it. But if they still, insist on putting it, okay, so maybe they know how to handle it. They know how to, whatever. So if they know how to handle it, okay, it's on their, it's their responsibility. We objected, and now they want to do whatever they want to do. So okay, fine, let's see how you do. If you're good at it, and you know how to guard the tefillin properly, Hashem should help you. Whatever, right? Everything is good, right? That's the idea. So the truth is also, I wanted to say that in the Rambam, when I was learning the Rambam about these halachot, over there it doesn't say that women are not allowed to put tefillin. So in other words, not everybody agrees with this. The truth is, that women are not allowed to put tefillin. There are some who say not like that. So therefore, if a woman wants to put tefillin and she could guard herself, she can do it. In theory, But the thing is like this, that even if she's such a good woman like that, very careful, very diligent woman, and she wants to put tefillin, she definitely should not do it in public. That should only be done in the house, because otherwise it looks like she's being arrogant, she's being conceited. Doing it in public is not the proper thing to do. Since all the other women are not wearing tefillin, she's the only one who's putting tefillin, so it looks like she's conceited. So therefore, if a woman really wants to do it so badly, and she's so vehement about it, right? So okay, let her do it in the house, in private. That would be the proper thing to do. So that's the story, pretty much. That's pretty much the whole picture. On the one hand, most women, probably better they shouldn't put. as we said, right? Because they don't know how to guard themselves. If there are some, singular women, some individuals that know how to do, we object against them according to one opinion. According to one opinion, the other opinion, we don't object against them. So whatever, whichever one it is, right? That's the way it goes. Okay, so whatever, so you gotta, if you're really, one of these ladies who wants to put tefillin, you better learn the halachot and do it properly, otherwise better to stay away from it. Most women I know, they tell me, they don't want to put tefillin because it's just, they don't want to be responsible, to do a mitzvah that they're not obligated to do because, they have what to do anyway. They're busy as it is, so they don't want to take on the extra obligations, and that's they're right about that. As it is, we're busy, so why now take on extra things that you don't know if you can keep it properly or whatever. Okay, that's the idea. So let's see the Shulchan Aruch there, and we'll see how that comes out there. Right, so it says like this, right? That Nashim ve'avadim turim mitfilin. So it says women and slaves are absolved from tefillin. What's the reason why? Because it's a positive time-bound commandment, and women are exempt from commandments like that, positive time-bound ones. So says the Rama, as we mentioned in the Beit Yosef, so if the women want to be stringent and put tefillin, we object against them, right? As we already saw that some said we should object. Two different opinions about that. Anyway, right, the point is, as we said, right, okay, you object, but if they don't listen, they don't listen. What can I do? We're not gonna send the police after them. Whatever. The FBI, right? We're not gonna do that. So it is what it is. Right? But what it is also that some rabbis in our generation have also mentioned something important, which is that nowadays, it's become like a custom of like reform, or heretical, sects that women put tefillin and talit, so because of that, there's also another danger, that when you start doing this kind of thing today, you look like, you're one of those sects, one of those, reform or something like that. And that's another reason why, as we said, right, that even if a woman really, really wants to do this, she wants to take it upon herself, she definitely should not do it in public, that's for sure, right? Because otherwise she's getting in, with this, getting into this involvement with this heretical crowd, these women who are, a little bit off the way. So that's the reason why, yeah. Okay, so yeah, let's go on to Daled. Okay. So he says like this, Beit Yosef, Daled. Hakatab or the kolbo b'shem Aram. It says the kolbo in the name of the Ram. ועל הבחורים ששאלת אשר מהרהרים אפילו בשעת קריאת שמע לא יניחו תפילין ואפילו חולה מעיים אסור. So he says that, if you're talking about young guys, right, and they can't even stay away from bad thoughts during, the time of Kriyat Shema to wear tefillin. So he says people like this, who have such a difficult time with that, what they should do is just not put it at all, because if they can't even do 2 minutes without having a bad thought, better not to put it. Lo yanichu tefillin. Says also a person who has, as we said, right, some constipation issues, all kinds of things like this, stomach issues, intestinal issues, shouldn't put it either, right? Because he's going to come to do something bad there, pass wind or whatever, when he's wearing tefillin. So it says the truth is that anybody who cannot guard himself from passing gas, when he's wearing tefillin, asur, he's not allowed to put it. All the more so, right? A person should not behave in a lightheaded manner when he's wearing tefillin. But it says about Yosef, says, I'm wondering that it says in Braita Perek Sheni the Sukkah, second pair of Sukkah, Rabbi Yossi Omer Aledim Leolam Cholutzin. So it says the children, says Rabbi Yossi says the so he says the women, the children, they take it off the tefillin because they're accustomed to be impure. Rashi explains, what does that mean? So he says the problem is like that they're afraid that they're going to have bad thoughts and see some semen, during the time that they're wearing tefillin. But so does that mean that Gemara asks that a person who had a seminal emission is not allowed to put tefillin? So he says we're talking about young ones, kids, young boys, or somebody who his wife is with him, that he may come to do something, bad with the tefillin, as we said, right? Or even have to have relations with his wife with tefillin on, because he may come to forget. So you see from here, it says explicitly that because of the bad thoughts, it's not forbidden. It says it's possible to say that the Ram explains the that you may have thought to say that they're accustomed to being in impurity. That means that they're seminal emission. So it says a person who's had a seminal emission not allowed to put tefillin. He says because of this, he wonders that the person who had a seminal emission, he's definitely obligated to wear tefillin. What are you telling me that he's absolved? He says, however, but it says one thing for sure, that when he has a tefillin on him, so there he has to be careful not to have bad thoughts. So he says if he's not able to hold himself from having bad thoughts, even when he's wearing tefillin, better not to put tefillin. He shouldn't put it. It says in the Sefer Orchot Chaim, Katuv al Hade Aram, regarding what it says, the Ram said, and also in Yerushalmi it applies like this. So what does that mean? You have a clean body. You stay away from bad thoughts when you're putting tefillin. So it seems to me, it says, we shouldn't absolve them from tefillin because of that. Rather, what we should do is rebuke them. Tell them, listen, be careful when you're wearing tefillin. Don't have bad thoughts. And we should bring them close to Hashem, bring them close to God, fear of God. They should remove their thoughts from all kinds of bad things. That they harm the body, nefesh, the soul. And they should instead concentrate on accepting the yoke of heaven. Katav Arosh, says the Rosh, the Ita B'Sefer Haitim, says over there in his book, Someh Patu. Oh, he says, right, the blind are absolved from tefillin, minat tefillin, or minat tzitzit, also from tzitzit. Because it says you should see them. Prata Someh comes to exclude a blind person. And the Rosh didn't agree with this, right? He disagreed. Katav the letter, the advice is not so. He says, right? Says regarding seeing them, it's talking about tzitzit, not about tefillin. So therefore, a person who's blind comes out, right, has to put tefillin. Doesn't absolve him just because he can't see the tefillin. Okay, very good. So let's go to Shulchan Aruch here. So says Shulchan Aruch, "Hamaniach tefillin tzarich lizaher mihu ta'avat isha." Right, you have to be careful. The person who puts tefillin has to be careful not to think about bad thoughts. About, in other words, being with a woman. Right. In other words, he shouldn't have sexual thoughts when he's wearing tefillin. Gotta stay away from that. Okay, very good. So says the Rama here, right? And if it's not possible, they shouldn't have any bad thoughts. It says, right, better not to put them. But I must tell you, right, also that the women have to be careful also. So what does that mean? That, as a woman, you have to understand that when your husband or your whatever, your father or whatever, or your son, whoever it may be, right, who's putting tefillin, don't give him bad thoughts, at that time. In other words, if you're married, right, let's say, and you don't pass by your husband, in an immodest way, or talk to him about things like that, sexual things, when he's wearing tefillin, because otherwise you're going to cause him to sin. So when he's wearing tefillin, just keep it G-rated, right? Everything's G-rated, nice and clean, no dirty stuff, right? So it's gotta be, right? Make sure everything is clean. No dirty words, no dirty thoughts, no dirty things. Right, whatever. It's not that it's dirty, don't get me wrong. I mean, husband and wife, nothing dirty about it, but it's very clean, very good, it's very holy. But what I mean to say is that, the time of tefillin, that's not the time for that, right? That's what it is. Okay. Very good. Let's go to next one. Yeah, so then we said, right, that Avel, the Yom Rishon, the person who's a mourner, on the first day of his mourning, right, he's patur, he's absolved from tefillin. From the first day onwards, he's already obligated. So it says regarding that the Bet Yosef, Bepek Elu Megalchin, it's over there in Moed Katan, Kaf Aleph Amud Aleph, Asiknat the halacha Rabbi Yoshua. They decided that the halacha is like Rabbi Yoshua. The Amar, he says, Avel Shnei Yamim Harishonim Asur Danech Tefillin. He says that the mourner, the first 2 days doesn't put tefillin. Mishneh v'shaneh bichlal mutar. So he says, but from the second day and onward, including the second day itself, it's allowed. You're not to put tefillin. V'im ba'u panim chadashot. If new people came, choletz, he should take it off. He says. When Rabbi argues with this, V'amar kivan she'aniach b'sheni. So he says like this: that once he put tefillin on the second day, eno choletz, he doesn't take it off anymore. Even if new people came. So halacha is like him. Why? Because he's the final authority, right? The Rabbi. Bet the sukkah, second bet of sukkah. Kav hey amud bet. Aminan avel chayav bechol mitzvot. So it says over there that the avel, the mourner, is obligated in all the mitzvot. Chutz mit tefillin, except tefillin. V'hanem ile b'yom rishon. That's only the first day. Right, it says, "Ve'acharita kiyom mar, ve'acharita kiyom mar." V'chen katav arif. That's what it says in Arif. Pek ve'elu megalchin. V'zen hashano u'maskana eno asur ela b'yom rishon. So it says, right, that the conclusion is it's only forbidden on the first day. Bilvad the ikar merara chad yom mahu. So he says because really, the bitterness of mourning is really the first day only. The main bitterness of that, right? Like it says, right, that it's like 1 day of bitterness. So it says once he put tefillin on the second day, shuv eno choletz, he doesn't take it off anymore. Even if you have new people coming. Katav alav rosh, says the Rosh regarding that. Mash katav arif, it says what the Rif wrote. Deno asur ela yom rishon, that it's only forbidden on the first day. Because the first day is forbidden altogether. About sheni eno asur, but the second one is not forbidden. Second day, only part of it. As like we say, because as we said, right, that the mourner is forbidden to put tefillin the first 2 days. But from second day onward, like mutar, it's allowed. Rashi explains the shnei amim asur miktzat shnei kukulo. So then, why does it say right that it's forbidden 2 days? And we said only it's the first day forbidden because right that also there's like a little part of the second day, a little bit, which is forbidden. Once that little time has elapsed, a little part of the day, it's already permitted on the second day. That's what we say. Perek sheni de sukkah, the second perek of sukkah. Yom Rishon, right? That's only the first day. About Yom Sheni, but when it comes to the second day, not so. It's not considered that. Because it's part of the day is like the whole day. So he says, therefore, right after the sun rises, right after sunrise of the second day, so then we say a part of the day is like the whole day. Adkan, so it seems to like from his words, that even though he holds that tefillin is not the time, it is the time of the night is time of tefillin. It is. But since you're not allowed to put them in other words, meaning to say that the proper way is not to put them at all at night. If you don't have them on, you shouldn't put them. And alayla olelo, so he says, therefore the night doesn't really count as a part of the day. So therefore you have to wait until sunrise. Says the Ran regarding this, that only applies to the first day. This means that means that he's absolved altogether on the first day. But it says on the other days, it's not the whole day, only a part of the day. Since already a little bit of the second day has elapsed, he's already obligated. So it says, but from words of the Rif, that it seems like on the second day it's not forbidden at all. Rambam Katabken, also Rambam writes like this. Katav Ramban, Besefer Torah Adam. Says the Ramban, says probably the reason is because we don't put tefillin at night. The Laila loves man tefillin because it's not time of tefillin. So it's nevertheless it does count for part of the day. So therefore it says it comes out that it's not forbidden. So he's not absolved from bringing tefillin. Only one day. So what does that mean? The second day already in the morning, he's already obligated with them. Says Ran, so it says not really clear to me. It says, because if so, he shouldn't have said Abel Shnei Yamim Harishonim Asur. He shouldn't have said in the Gemara that 2 days is forbidden, the Abel, the mourner. Ad Kanashano. That's at the end of it. But says Bet Yosef, it seems like the reasoning is because the Cheman Shiamru Shnei Yamim Harishonim Asur Le'aniach Tefillin. Since the first 2 days is forbidden to put tefillin, Im Tim Tzalomar De Lo Mitzar. You're going to tell me that it wasn't forbidden Ela Yom Echad, only one day. But Leil Sheni Kevan De Laila Lav Zman Tefillin. And since the second day already the night is not time of tefillin. Im Ken, if so, it says Lo Nesar Ela Yom Echad Bilvad. It was only forbidden one day. But Lini Re, so it seems to me, he says the Yesh Lomar, there is to say Yafagav De Laila Lav Zman Tefillin. Even though the night is not really time for tefillin, Mitam Shema Yashem Ben, because you may come to sleep in them, as we already mentioned before. About Mitzar Dami Mitam Abelut, but it's also forbidden because of Abelut, because of mourning. Okay, good. So that's the end of it. We'll see the Shulchan Aruch here. Says the Shulchan Aruch, Abel b'yom rishon asur le'aniach tefillin. Abel, the mourner, right, on the first day, not allowed to put tefillin. Mikan ve'elach hayad. From here and onward is obligated. Even if new people came, right? So halacha is only the first day he's absolved. He's not allowed to put it, even if he wants to. He cannot put. He cannot put if he wants to. So therefore, right, he waits till the second day and then he puts tefillin. Okay, very good, very simple, very clear. I think whatever. So here's another one, right, which we already read in the tour. Tisha B'Av Chayim Ben, right? And Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Ab, which is the day the temple was destroyed, he's obligated to put tefillin. Right? Katab, Ken Katab Rosh, that's what it says in the Rosh. Perk Bata de Tanit, the last perk of Tanit. The Lo Chamir Tisha B'Av Mishar Yemei Avilut. So he says, Tisha B'Av is not, 9th of Ab, is not more stringent than any other day of mourning. It's also day of mourning. Katab Od, and he writes further, Rabbi Meir Katab the B'Tisha B'Av En Le'aniach. So he says, Rabbi Meir, that on 9th of Ab they shouldn't put tefillin kimo bayom rishon, just like the first day. De'avel abelut. Then yom. So it says the en yom yoter ma mimenu, because there's nothing bitter than that, right? More bitter than that. There's no day more bitter than that. Yom kviyut bechiyah ledot. So it says it's like an everlasting day of weeping because of the temple. So he says he was probably like looking for here a support for the minhag of the Ashkenazim, the custom of the Ashkenazim. So it says, but apparently it seems like we wrote above. He says Rabbeinu wrote this siman. Okay, let's go on. So he says Chatan v'shosh finav. Okay, that's already a different one. So we'll do the Shulchan Aruch here, and then we'll come back to this. This is Shulchan Aruch. But Tisha B'Av chayavim b'tefillin, right? On Tisha B'Av, we're obligated to put tefillin. As I mentioned before, I'll mention it again. That even though on Tisha B'Av we do put tefillin, but there's different customs, right? The Ashkenazim, what they do, and also a lot of the Sephardi communities as well, they put the tefillin at mincha time, not in the morning, because they want to, like in the morning, they want to be like concentrate on the morning. They want to concentrate on the avelut, and not put tefillin, be like mourners. And then what they do is that in mincha time they put, because mincha time already, like the morning is already like less severe, in Tisha B'Av. That's what they do. A lot of communities do like that. But according to the Arizal, a person is supposed to put also tefillin in the morning on Tisha B'Av. And a lot of Sephardi communities have already taken that custom, like the Arizal. So therefore, in Israel, by the way, like most of the communities over there, Sephardi communities, do put tefillin in the morning, like the custom of the Arizal, and that's the way I saw everywhere I went to Israel. That's the way it was, except like the Moroccan communities, Moroccan shuls. Otherwise, all the other places they were pretty much putting a tefillin. All the places which the custom is Israeli custom, Yerushalmi custom. Okay, very good. So that's the story there, and let's go on. Going to Zion. This is an interesting one. So it says in the tour like this: Chatan v'shosh finav v'chol b'nei chuppah. So it says the Chatan and his his shosh is like the people who accompany him, to make him happy. They're called shoshvinim. Right? V'chol b'nei chuppah. There's also people who are involved with the chuppah, with the marriage, with the wedding. Peturin, they're absolved with tefillah, from tefillah, from prayers, and also tefillin. They're chayavim b'kriyat shema, but they're obligated to do kriyat shema. The kotvei sfarim. So it says the ones who write books, Sefer Torah, with tefillin and mezuzot, they write all these things. Hem v'tigrehem, it says them and their merchants, tigrehem, and also the merchants, whatever that means. We'll see what that means. All the people who are doing the work of heaven, the labor of heaven, they're absolved. All these things, all the mitzvot as well. They're absolved. Okay, interesting. So let's see in a bit, Yosef, how he explains all this. Okay, so it says in the Bet Yosef, Chatan v'shosh finav, the perk Bet Sukkah. It's over there in the second perk of Sukkah, Kaf Hei Amud Bet. Tanu Rabbanan, Chatan v'shosh finin v'chol b'nei chuppah. So it says the the groom, right, and all the people who are with him, accompanying him, the ones who are making him happy, right? The whole bnei chuppah and all the people who are involved in the wedding, peturim minat tefillah, they're absolved from prayers, or minat tefillin, also from tefillin. The chayavin b'kriyat shema, but they're obligated in kriyat shema. Mishum Rabbi Shila, name Rabbi Shila, they said, chatan paturim v'shvashvinim chol bnei chuppah chayavin. He says a little bit differently, right? Chatan, the groom, is absolved, but the other people who are involved with the wedding, they're obligated. Rashi explains, peturim minat tefillin, they're absolved from a tefillin. Mishum deshchiach shichrut. So why do we absolve them from a tefillin? So it says Rashi, because people who are involved in the wedding, they're getting drunk, drinking, alcohol, blah blah blah. So what does that mean? A person who's like, drunk and acting, silly and dancing, he's not really in the proper state of mind for tefillin. That's the reason why Rashi says. The Rambam look at the chatan patur min tefillin. So it says the Rambam didn't write that the chatan is absolved from tefillin. So it says maybe it's included in what it's written. It says one person was aggrieved, or he's not concentrating properly. In other words, he already mentioned that, the Rambam, so he doesn't need to mention it again. Right? And he says he's absolved from tefillin. Okay, so the Rabbi Shila, Ketav Rosh, regarding the opinion of Rabbi Shila, says the Rosh that lo kama the shoshvinim b'nei chuppah chayavim. He only said that these people who are accompanying the groom are obligated only kriyat shema, dafka, only kriyat shema. But b'tfilah with tefillin, modeh debturin. When it comes to prayers and tefillin, he admits that they're patur, they're absolved. Pasak Rosh, says the Rosh, he rules like this. The Rosh halacha Rabbi Shila, like Rabbi Shila. He says according to this, shemash katav Rabbeinu b'kriyat shema, that which Rabbeinu said in kriyat shema, lo ka'eh ela shoshvirim. It only applies to the people who are around him, the people who are accompanying him. U'vnei chuppah v'lo chatan, but it's not talking about the chatan, the groom himself. So it seems to me, it says more likely to say, Lomar the gama chatan kais, it also applies to the chatan himself. Piatam mishum de Rabbi Shila the patar the chatan. So it says the reason is because according to Rabbi Shila, who absolves the chatan, because he can't concentrate, right? His mind is diverted to he's in other things, right? He's got other things going on. So obviously, right, his mind is not now in the tefillin, not in that state of mind. So it says that according to that, he says that was for them, that they used to anyway, were very concentrated when they put tefillin and when they prayed. But it says in our times it's not like that. Other people also don't have really good concentration for prayers. So therefore, he says even the chatan is chayav. So therefore, right, what do we say according to this conclusion that he says here? Right, apparently the chatan is liable to say kriyat shema because we don't concentrate anyway so much. So let him say it. What's the point? Why absolve him because he can't concentrate? He can't concentrate also tomorrow, and the next day, next week, next year. So what is it going to help? That's what he's trying to say. Okay, so let's see the Shulchan Aruch on this, how he rules on this. Let's see Shulchan Aruch. Says Shulchan Aruch, Chatan v'shoshvinav, the Chatan and the people who are helping him together, giving him a simcha, right? The chol b'nei chuppah and also all the people who are at the wedding, whatever, is participating. Peturim mishum deshchiach shichrut v'kalutosh. They're all absolved from tefillin. Why is that? Because there's a lot of drunkenness, and lightheadedness going on there. So therefore, right, they can't really concentrate on tefillin. So therefore, they're absolved. That's what it is. So, but what are we talking about here, right? We're talking about the first night, right, when they're doing the wedding. But the morning after, right, that's a very different story, right? They probably got over their hangover, right? They're already sober, just like we got over our hangover from Purim, right? And now we're okay, so what's the problem? So next morning you already have to say it. That's already something else. But what we're talking about is that all the while that they're participating in the wedding and in those events that are going on there, and they're partying, this kind of stuff. So all that time they're absolved. But anyway, nowadays, what's the story? Right? Nowadays, we do the weddings at night. We don't usually do weddings in the daytime. Right? Usually most people do it at night. So therefore, anyway, we don't put tefillin at night, so it's not really relevant. So therefore, right, the next morning you're going to put tefillin just like regular, right? Because the wedding is already over. That's something else. Okay, very good. Let's go on to the next one, which is chet. So it's also right, as we said, people who are writing Sefer Torah and they're writing tefillin and mezuzot, they're also absolved. So let's see the Beit Yosef on that. It says like this, Sham, also the Gemara there, Chaf Bab Amud Aleph, Amar Rabbi Chanina ben Akiva. It says like this, that Kotvei Sarim Tefillin Mezuzot, these people who write these parchments and all these things, Hem, Betigrahem, and all the merchants, the ones that are working in the heavenly labor, whatever, right? Heavenly work, even the ones that were selling tchelet, they're also patur. Mikiyat Shema from Mikiyat Shema, Minat Tfilah, and also from Tfilah, the prayers, and also Minat Tfilin. Also from Tfilin. We call mitzvot amrot b'Torah. They're absolved from all the mitzvot from the Torah. This comes to uphold the words of Rabbi Yosef Glili. Shaya Omer, they used to say, Kol ha'osek b'mitzvah patur min ha'mitzvah. Whoever is doing one mitzvah, he's absolved from another mitzvah. So that's the rule, right? That's like a general rule like this. If you're doing one mitzvah, you don't have to now stop doing that one and do something else. You just keep finish that one first. So all the while you're busy with that mitzvah, no need now to go to another mitzvah. Okay, so it says we have to say that at the time that they're doing the mitzvah, that's only when they haven't stopped doing the mitzvah, as we said. To do another mitzvah. But it says at the time that they're not doing the mitzvah, they stopped, let's say. They took a break, whatever it is, right? So then they're like everybody else. They're obligated to do all the mitzvot. It says in Tosfot, so it says Nisim, also Rabbeinu Nisim, regarding what it says, right, that the ones who are doing mitzvah are absolved from a sukkah. According to what they wrote, he says, Zav, Sham, Hainu Dafka Kashehu Binyan Shehu Yanichu Tfinin. That's that in a way that they're going to put tefillin or ikra'u Kriyat Shema or Kriyat Shema or kaimu echad mishar mitzvot or do some other mitzvah to batel mitzvah shehem asukim ba. So then they can nullify the mitzvah that they're doing. Shadam echad rotzeh lifrosh v'yam or b'shayra achshav v'rotzeh not tefillin or tchelet. Let's say a person wants to go now to sail in the sea, right, or to go to a caravan to travel somewhere. Right, and he wants to buy tefillin and tchelet or tchelet. ואי אפשר לו להמתין עד שהסופר או התגר יקיים המצווה. So you cannot really wait until the sofer or the scribe or the merchant can do the mitzvah. הבעל ידו came to his hand. אבל אם אפשר לו להמתין, if he can wait, יעשה הסופר או התגר מצווה הבעל ידו. So then they should do the mitzvah that came to their hand first. ואם היא מצוות עוברת, if it's something which will pass, a passing mitzvah, which you won't be able to do later on. If it's like that, if it's something which will pass, then you should stop and do that one first, and then continue the other one. And then you can come back and do these things, right? Write Sefer Torah, Tefillin, Mezuzot, or Machran, or to sell them. Regarding this Breita, that's only when they're idle from their work. They're doing a different mitzvah. So it says, but, En ken Rabbeinu Nisim. Says Rabbeinu Nisim doesn't agree with this. Right, what we just said. Shu Katal, because he writes, Sham over there, Osek mitzvah patur min mitzvah. A person who's doing a mitzvah, he's absolved from another mitzvah. Even though he's able to do both of them. So the Ran holds that even if you can do both of them, you're still absolved from the second one because you're doing the first one. Two different ways of looking at it. There's a person who's doing his work at Shemakom of the labor of heaven, right? God's work. At Torah, because the Torah didn't obligate him to do other mitzvot. Even though it's possible. Umi always says, but he says, I admit that if he doesn't have to do really much exertion, just to go on with his first mitzvah, he can also do the second one as well. So he says, in a manner like that, he can do like both of them, no problem. Because he's not losing anything from the first one by doing the second one. He can concentrate on both of them at the same time. There's no big problem for him. So he says, therefore, if you can do good, why do bad? Right? In other words, it means to say that if you can do both of them without having any exertion or whatever, or distraction, why not do both of them? Okay. So it's also like the Ran, the same thing is written in Asheri, Hagot Asheri, Hashem or Hazarua, name or Hazarua. Shalom says it's possible to say the lo patra braita zo kikotes sfarim. This braita didn't pater people who are writing books. Ela sefer Torah mitzvot and chatam kol hayom, except that regarding putting them all day the tefillin. But when they're doing Kriyat Shema Tefillah, they should put tefillin, right? Because otherwise, anyway, they're not writing a sefer Torah at that time. Like Chayrim, they're obligated. They're Harim, they're obligated to put them. In order to accept the yoke of heaven. That's what it says Rabbi Yonah. So is that what should absolves in the Mechilta for a person who's reading the Torah from Tefillin? Like we're going to write close by. So it says Rabbi Yocham has a girsa in the Braita. This Braita, so what does that mean, that the merchants of the merchants that we mentioned before? So it says that means that the one who buys from the merchant, a second merchant, right? A second man. Right? You have the wholesaler, you have the retailer, right? So forth, so on. So they're all absolved. The Arif, so says the Arif, Katav Braita, so he wrote this Braita, Aval Harambam, but the Rambam left it out, he didn't write it. So I don't know why the Rambam didn't write this halakha. It's possible that the reason is because Bishum the Ita Yerushalmi, because there is, it says in Yerushalmi, Per Kama the Brachot, the first parak of the Brachot, Rabbi Yochanan B'Shem Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, says Rabbi Yochanan in name Rabbi Shimon, Kigon Anu Sheoskim B'Talmud Torah. It says we that are always occupied with Torah study, so we don't even stop for Kriyat Shema. We don't even stop for that. In other words, we just keep on studying. Rabbi Yochanan Amra al Gameh. So Rabbi Yochanan said this about himself. But it says us that we're not, so occupied with Torah, right? Afilu letfilah, even anu maspikim. We even stop for prayers. Amar Rabbi Yosef, Komoy Rabbi. So it says Rabbi Yosef in front of him, in front of Rabbi Yirmiyah. Atiyat de Rabbi Yochanan ki Rabbi Chanina ben Akiva. So he says these two rabbis have the same opinion. The Tane kotvei sfarim tefillin mezuzot, because it says in the Braita that the people who are writing Sefer Torah and tefillin mezuzot mafsikin Kriyat Shema. They do stop for Kriyat Shema, then mafsikin the tefillah, but they don't stop for tefillah, for prayers. Rabbi Chanina ben Akiva Omer, this rabbi says, Keshem shemafsikin Kriyat Shema, just like we stop for Kriyat Shema, kach mafsikin the tefillah, we also stop for tefillah, for prayers. But it's tefillin, also for tefillin. And also the other mitzvot of the Torah. ולא מוטי רבי שמעון בן יוחאי שמפסיקים לעשות סוכה לעשות לולב. So he says the Rabbi Shimon doesn't agree that we stop doing we stop words of Torah to make a sukkah or to make a lulav. But let the Rashbi halamed al manat lasot. So Rashbi doesn't hold. This is what Gemara says, right? Wait, doesn't hold. Doesn't he hold? Like the one that says, right, that a person should learn the mitzvot, should learn the Torah in order to fulfill the mitzvot. That's the whole point. V'lo halamed al manat shelo lasot. You shouldn't learn the Torah not to do, to uphold the Torah. You have to uphold the Torah when you learn it. That's the whole point. So then, how can Rabbi Shimon say that you're absolved from doing mitzvot when you're learning Torah, right? How is that? So he says, "Ta'amad Rashbi zeh shinun, v'zeh shinun, ve'en nematel shinun mipnei shinun." So he holds, right, Rabbi Shimon, that they're both considered to be like a form of learning. So you don't nullify one learning because of another learning. So he explains it. There's one by, what does that mean? It says, right, regarding Kriyat Shema, that you have to read it, so just like you're learning. You're learning the Torah, you're reading the Torah when you say Kriyat Shema. And also, right, Talmud Torah, also Torah, you're learning Torah. So it's the same thing. In other words, basically, whether you're saying Kriyat Shema or you're learning Torah, you're doing the same thing. So it says, therefore, Talmud Torah Nami, Darshinan, B'hai, Kinamar, says we extrapolate from what it says in the Gemara, Kedushim Lamed Aleph, you should teach them. Sheyuv Divrei Torah mehudadim b'picha ad kan. The words of Torah should always be right fluent in your mouth. V'chevan Divrei Yerushalmi says since according to Yerushalmi the data kol and kotves sfarim, that for sure, right, when it comes to the ones who write Sefer Torah, Peturim, they're not absolved from the Tefillin. The ad kan lo patar. That he says, right? Says, but we're only absolved ela min tefillah, only from prayers, right? The first Tanakama, right, was the first opinion. The Tanakama, the first opinion, always only absolved you from prayers. Why? Because it's only rabbinical. Prayers is only rabbinical. But when it comes to mitzvah from the Torah, mafsikin, then we do stop. Just like we do for Kriyat Shema. So it says he didn't want to stop, like it says in the Braita, Gemara, he done the Peturim min mitzvot. That it says in the Gemara that they're in our Gemara, non Yerushalmi, he's patur, he's absolved from mitzvot. The Shum Tana, the Svirale, Rabbi Yosef Aglidi. So it says it's possible that a certain rabbi there who held like Rabbi Yosef Aglidi, he taught this, and the rabbis argue with him. Interesting. Okay, so let's see how this turns out in the Shulchan Aruch. This is, by the way, a very important, basic, fundamental thing of the Torah. When is a person absolved from mitzvot when he's learning Torah? When does he have to stop Torah to do mitzvot? This is a very, very fundamental principle, a very important principle. So let's see what the Shulchan Aruch says here, right? So we can get this properly, proper orientation here. So it says like this, right? It says like this, that a person who's writing Tefillin and Mezuzot. So what does that mean? He's a sofer, right? He's a scribe. He's working to write them, right? And also he says there in the merchants, also the merchants of the merchants, right? The secondary merchants, and all people who are working in the work of heaven, Peturim menachat tefillin, they're absolved from putting tefillin all day. Except what? When they do Kriyat Shema and Tefillah, they have to put it at that time because you can't pray without tefillin. As we said, right? We already mentioned that. So since you can't pray without tefillin, at that time you got to put tefillin. But all day, besides that, you don't have to put tefillin. And anyway, by the way, today, nowadays, as we already mentioned last time, right? We don't put tefillin all day. So it doesn't really change anything, practically speaking, today. Anyway, we're not wearing tefillin all day. So this halakha is not really so relevant. Right? We're only putting tefillin in the morning when we pray and say Kriyat Shema, and that's it. So right, that's nothing has really changed. Okay, so then he goes on to say, says the Rama, "Ve'im hayu tzrichim la'asot melachtan b'shal Kriyat Shema u'tefillah." What about if they need to do the work at the time of Kriyat Shema and Tefillah? In other words, even at the time where they're supposed to be praying, they need to write something like some Tefillin or mezuzah or something. It's an obligation. In other words, somebody needs it now, right? And they have to write it. So the question is, can they do that? Can they skip over on the prayers and skip over on the Kriyat Shema and skip over on wearing Tefillin and in order to write Tefillin for somebody else? So says the Rama, as Tefillin Kriyat Shema without Tefillin. So then they're absolved because since they have to write it for somebody needs one now. So therefore they're absolved themselves, even though right now it's a time for their prayers. So he says because the rule is like this, okay? When you're doing one mitzvah, you're absolved from another mitzvah. This is the rule. Very important rule to understand that. If it will be a burden to go for the other mitzvah right now, it would burden him because he can't concentrate on both of them. But if you can do both of them without really much of a bother, like second nature, do both of them at the same time. So then he should, right? Do both of them. Why not, right? As we mentioned in the Bet Yosef. So, by the way, I'll give you a funny example. There's a story I was told one time. There was one, in Israel, there's one guy who used to be like an actor, a TV actor, Israeli guy. So what happened was he became a Baal Tshuva. He did Teshuvah, and then he became like a rabbi, whatever, something like that, right? He's very well known in Israel, this guy. So if I think of his name, I'll tell you. But anyway, right, the point is, you probably don't know his name. Because if you don't live in Israel, you don't know his name. But anyway, right, there's one guy like this, and now he's very religious and everything, whatever. He used to be secular. Huh? So what happened was that one time a certain organization came to him, and asked him, because he's a famous person. So he has a good name, he has a reputation, so he used to be like a star, So people know him, he's a well-known figure. So what happened was that they told him, do us a favor, we want you to go to the diaspora, go to America, whatever, right? And raise money for the yeshiva, for some yeshivot, whatever. Raise money and come back, do us a favor. Go raise money for us. So fine, okay. So he said, okay, fine, no problem. I can raise money if you want. But he came to Rabbi Yashiv, who was a big Ashkenazi rabbi of our generation, right? One of the big Chachamim. So he came to him and he asked him a question. He says, Rabbi, they asked me to go, to America to raise money, but he says, there's one problem I have, to go to America. He says, when I go there, I know from experience, I can't concentrate on my prayers, over there in America. I get distracted, too much distractions over there. I can't concentrate on my prayers. So he says, that means, pretty much I'm killing my prayers because to raise money, for the yeshiva or whatever. So he asked Rabbi Yashiv, he says, can I go still or should I just refuse because I can't concentrate on my prayers there? This is the question he asked him, So Rabbi Yashiv told him, he says, I have news for you, my friend. He told him, because not only you I don't care that you can't concentrate on prayers. He says you're absolved from prayers altogether. Why? Because you're doing a mitzvah. You're going to raising money for the yeshiva. So if you're going to raise the money for the yeshiva, you're absolved from prayers altogether. So what do I care if you can't concentrate? Who cares? So that's what he told him. So he told him to go. So you see, by the way, this backs up, right? This supports what we just said here, that when a person is doing one mitzvah, he's absolved from another mitzvah. So here's the thing, right? That if that's the case, so to use this example, right, that we just mentioned, if a person is going, let's say, to raise money, for the yeshiva, right, which is a mitzvah, a big mitzvah, whatever. But he's not doing that 24 hours a day, right? There's going to be time that he's resting. There's going to be time that he's sleeping, all kinds of things like that, right? So the question is, is he obligated to pray and tefillin and Kriyat Shema? Yeah, because at the time that he's resting, he should do it, right? Why not? He's not working 24 hours a day, right? So since he's not doing 24/7, raising money, so he should do prayers and Kriyat Shema and tefillin. Why? Because he has time. I mean, as we said, right? You're only absolved at the time that you're doing the other mitzvah. But if you stopped, you took a break, for a few hours or whatever, so then you should do the other mitzvah. That's the thing, right? So that's the way it is. So besides that, also I want to tell you, because we're going to stop here. But I want to tell you also another important thing. In a different place in Shulchan Aruch, it talks about a different issue, right? And you're there. Laws of Talmud Torah. So the question is like this, right? If a person comes to you when you're studying Torah, and tells you to do a mitzvah, and it tells you, listen, Rabbi, or whatever, like we need you now, like to do this mitzvah for us. Can you come? And you're sitting in there and learning, and then they're bothering you, coming over there, giving you a headache over here. Come on, give me a break. Now you want me to go? I'm just in the middle of my learning, Why are you bothering me? You're thinking in your head like that, right? So what's the rule, right? What is the rule regarding that? If a person comes to you, so says the Shulchan Aruch, the rule is like this. If somebody else can do that mitzvah besides you, then you should keep learning, and not interrupt yourself. Learning is more important. If somebody else can do that mitzvah. But if nobody else can do it besides you, there's nobody else, There's no other sucker besides you, right? They caught you. So there's nobody else. So if that's the case, there's nothing you can do. You got to go and do the mitzvah, right? Because as we said, right, the whole point of learning Torah is to do the mitzvot. If you're not doing the mitzvot, so what are you learning for? Well, it's all theoretical for you. You know what I mean? You got to uphold the mitzvot. When you're doing, that's the whole point, right? Right? That's what the Chazal said. Sages said. The main thing is not to learn. The main thing is to uphold them in the mitzvot. Whatever you learn, you understand? That's the main. That's when you get tested. If you really believe in what you learned, if you really are you're aware of what you're cognizant of what your responsibilities are. You prove it physically with your hands. Okay, very good. So I guess we'll stop there. Chazak Baruch. Laila Tov. Be blessed with wealth, health, and happiness. Thanks for coming. We'll see you tomorrow, Bezrat Hashem, Thursday night.
Thank you.
Chazak Baruch.
Rabbi, can you stay with me for a second?
Sure.
What's going on?
I'm with you.
No, I just remembered when you were talking about, the people that party and, are drunk and whatever, how they're absolved.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day, I hadn't seen you at those Georgian parties for a while, and I caught you somewhere once and I said, Rabbi, what's going on? I haven't seen you. Stopped coming all together to, Georgian weddings, And I remember it was a close relative of yours that I went to a party for. I was invited with my wife, and this is what you said to me, David, I don't go to those orgies.
Well, yeah, that may be a little bit exaggerated, but whatever. But you know what that means. You understand what that means.
Absolutely.
They're dancing together, men and women. It's like, it's not a clean place to be. You're not allowed to
you know what? I never thought it was appropriate.
Yeah.
A lot of those women came half naked over there, Yeah.
Unfortunately, there are some rabbis who go to those weddings, by the way, quote unquote rabbis, but they're not keeping the halakha. They're sitting there, watching people dancing together, men and women. They shouldn't be there.
Well, that's interesting that you mentioned that. But let's say that you were called to marry the couple, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
You have no control over.
So what we do, in case like that, if we're called to marry them, what we do is that we just go like for the chuppah and then we leave.
Oh, you leave, okay.
Yeah, that's the best thing to do.
But even if it's a secular wedding like that, a secular Jewish wedding.
Yeah, I mean, as long as everyone, we try to just stay there for a minimal amount of time, do the job, and run off. Run out, run out the door.
But you're allowed to marry them. You are allowed to.
Yeah, because it's a mitzvah. I mean, it's better that they should get married than to stay. To have a relationship outside of marriage. Why would you want that?
Yeah. Gotcha. All right.
God bless.
Something good came out of my my little joke. I guess I learned something.
Okay, Chazak Baruch.
Chazak Baruch.
Keep in touch.
Right.
All the best.
Bye-bye.